sienna.
Right.
And then with a big brush, and I mean a big brush,
Okay.
I have one that's like this.
Oh,
But you may not have one that's as wide as that.
no. That's my biggest.
Yeah, that will do. That's perfect. Perfect. Then what you're going to do, and I'm just going to give you a little demonstration because I think people don't end up putting the colour down flat. Maybe it doesn't really matter, but I'm just going to show you. So, oh God, I put blue in it. Oh. Okay. So this, I'm going to imagine this is my big piece of paper. And what I would do is I'd start at the top with one brush load of water. Can you mute yourself, everybody, please? And then go across, refill my brush, go across, refill your brush, go across, refill your brush, go across. This way, and you can obviously go down the side very quickly. That way you get a lovely flat area of colour. Now, the drip at the bottom shows that there was enough paint on the paper when I was painting. If there's not a river at the bottom, then you know you haven't got enough paint on your paper.
Right.
Once you've got this river, don't try and blot it. Dry your brush off or scrape it off on the edge. Then get your brush and put the tip of it into the paint and it will draw it up like a straw. And then you don't have the river there anymore. And it's ready then to just leave to dry before you get ready to transfer the image onto it. Now, I think if you haven't traced the image, I'd get this done first and then go back and trace the image while it's drying. I looked at the painting again and in my book, the catalogue.
Yeah.
And what I noticed was that the colour of my photocopy is actually quite different to the colour of the catalogue colour, you know. But in the catalogue, it's gone through two processes. This is the person that produced this catalogue photographed the original, okay, and then it was printed. I've photocopied from here, and it's gone through another process. So in the third or fourth process, the colour has changed. Now, I made a decision when I started painting this that having got the raw sienna down on here, I had to add red into my blue to make it, the cloudy shapes, read on the yellow. And what I've ended up with is the purple and yellow colours. This is purple, this is yellow. They are complementary. So I'm just keeping it consistent with my photocopy. My photocopy and what I've done so far kind of are pretty similar. Yeah, I mean, this is a little bit grayer. So I've decided to stick with these sort of colours. And then when I've finished, I'm going to have another go. I'm going to paint a strip of this, of the entire image, only a strip, but I'm going to do it on burnt sienna and just see how different it looks, whether I can get it closer to what's in the catalogue.
Oh.
And it's very difficult to know, really, you know, which is the true version, you know.
Burnt sienna or raw sienna?
Burnt sienna is what I've tried out this afternoon, and I think he worked on burnt sienna.
Right.
The reason I say this is because when you're laying a stain for a oil painting, traditionally you would use either a burnt sienna or, I mean, Rembrandt used a red quite a lot as a ground, or you can use a sort of more, like a raw sienna or, greeny ground. That's in oil painting. And as we discussed last week, Prue, I think this is in preparation possibly for an oil painting.
It's certainly done by somebody who is used to working as an oil painter because of the way the colours have been laid on.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. So it's very interesting when you start to look at these images, what you discover.
I mean, can I just say that, for instance, on the right-hand side, if you go to the bottom of the sky, the horizon, where you come in from the right-hand side, there's a poplar tree. And then to the left of that poplar tree, there's quite a splurge of blue. And that splurge of blue actually goes down into the landscape. And he's not bothered about that, because if it was an oil painting, then he'd cover it up.
Yeah.
But in watercolor, you wouldn't do that. You'd stop.
Yeah.
So that's another reason why I think it's either in preparation for, or he's using much more oil painterly techniques.
Yeah, but either way, I've so far, you know, as I say, when I did this yesterday, and I dampened each area before I laid the paint in, so the paint is being allowed to fuse and the colours are fusing. It has a very nice quality, and I don't know whether that's to do with the fact that there's a stain underneath all those colours and it's holding it all together. I don't know. I'll wait and see what you think when you've finished.
So have you put the inner over the whole page?
Yes.
Thank you.
As with most painting, you work from the sky downwards. So I've got all the cloudy shapes in. And then I started to do the tops of the trees.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if I just zoom out a wee bit, that's all I've done so far. There's the bottom of the image. I've just come down almost halfway.
Yeah.
Just remember to dampen the area you're going to paint on before you start it. Not wet, but damp. So all the time you're working wet into wet wherever possible. I've got a brush in both hands at the moment.
He has done all these black outlines as well.
Yes, I'll talk about those in a minute. Just get the colour plotted out on your painting.
Oh, it is so.
What did you say to evacuate the grey?
I beg your pardon?
What did you say to do the grey?
Shelley, could you mute yourself again, please?
Of course, so sorry. Yeah.
All right, don't worry. I used a bit of burnt sienna in with a green mix so that it goes grey. So
I can't
if
get it to do that.
or you might have to add some blue as well.
Which blue?
Well, I've just done one with ultramarine, actually. Yeah, ultramarine and burnt sienna make a lovely grey. And if you want to make it more blue, just carefully add a bit more blue into it. So this colour here, I'll just show you on my test paper. That is quite dark, okay? That's made with ultramarine blue, burnt sienna, and a tiny bit of yellow. I think if I was going to use it in this painting, I'd add some water to it because quite a lot of the colours are really pale. Look, if you pale it down, it goes like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Mine's gone a sort of browny colour.
Then put a bit more blue in it. Now, for those of you that are perhaps a wee bit further on, and you might like to try this out, if you could just look my way for a minute. I noticed that on the photocopy and probably on the original in the book, it looks as though there's a little bit of line work, which is in a sort of a grey brown. And so I used a very fine brush, this one here, and I made up a grey brown. And then where I could see little bits of line, like over here, I'll try and go in a bit closer. Right, in here, on this tree here, there's a little bit of line work just going round, not joining up all the way, but in places on the actual painting. And it kind of, if you put it in, it gives it a little kind of crispness, if you know what I mean. It's almost, it's like, it probably is pencil line or something that he's left in. Can you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That you made with, say it again.
Well, I think this is a bit of sepia and a little bit of blue.
Okay, thank you.
It's a neutral brown, in other words. It's not, don't want it standing out too much. You can just about see it. I mean, I can see it in places, you know, in some places it appears more kind of like a grey line, but I think it's quite nice if you can get it in because it sort of adds to the painting, you know. It's a bit like if you're using a fine liner with watercolour, which some of you may have tried.